you keep feeling stuck, even after watching motivational videos and making big plans. What if one tiny habit could quietly transform your entire life without massive effort? In this video, I'll share 5 proven psychological shifts backed by behavioral science that can completely change how you think, act, and live. I discovered this idea after noticing something strange. The people who completely transformed their lives didn't usually start with huge goals. They started with ridiculously small habits that looked almost meaningless at first. Research from behavioral psychologists shows that small repeated actions literally rewire your brain over time. The problem is, most people focus on motivation instead of systems. They try to change everything overnight and burn out days later. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use one tiny habit to build discipline, confidence, and momentum naturally. Let's dive in. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Most people fail because they make habits too big. Your brain sees the task as painful, difficult, and exhausting before you even begin. But the smallest habit that changes everything is this. Make the start so easy your brain can't reject it. The 2-minute rule means any habit should take less than 2 minutes to begin. Instead of saying, I'm going to work out for an hour, you simply say, I'll put on my shoes and do 1 push-up. Research from behavior scientist B.J. Fogg found that tiny actions reduce mental resistance. This works because your brain cares more about starting than finishing. Once momentum begins, your brain naturally wants to continue. Think of it like pushing a car. The hardest part isn't driving, it's getting the car moving. Here's how to apply it. First, shrink your habit until it feels almost stupidly easy. Second, focus only on consistency, not intensity. Third, celebrate immediately after completing it, even if it's tiny. And fourth, never skip twice in a row. For instance, instead of forcing yourself to read 30 pages, read 1 sentence. That's it. The goal is identity. But wait, there's more to this. Because tiny habits don't just create action. They create proof. Most people don't know this, but your habits are shaped by the identity you believe about yourself. If you constantly say, I'm lazy, your brain searches for evidence to prove that story true. But when you complete small, consistent actions, your identity slowly changes. Every tiny habit sends a message to your brain. This is who I am now. Research from cognitive psychology shows that repeated actions influence self-perception. In simple words, you become what you repeatedly do. Japanese philosophy calls this kaizen, continuous small improvement over time. This works because your brain hates inconsistency. If you act disciplined every day, eventually your mind accepts the identity of a disciplined person. Here's how to apply this. First, stop focusing on goals like losing weight or becoming rich. Second, ask, what would the type of person I want to become do daily? Third, create tiny proof every day. And fourth, track your consistency visually. For example, instead of saying, I want to write a book, say, I'm a writer who writes 1 paragraph daily. Notice the difference? One is pressure. The other is identity. Now you might be thinking, can something this small really change my life? There's a scientific reason for this, and it's fascinating. This next one is crucial. Your brain loves momentum. Once you complete a small action, your brain releases dopamine, the chemical connected to progress and reward. And here's the important part. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's about motivation. Research from neuroscience studies found that progress, even tiny progress, increases the likelihood of continuing positive behavior. That's why making your bed can unexpectedly lead to cleaning your room, working out, or eating healthier later. Think of it like dominoes. One tiny action knocks down another, then another. But most people wait for motivation before acting. Successful people act first, and motivation follows afterward. Here's how to use momentum properly. First, choose one keystone habit. Second, do it at the same time every day. Third, attach it to an existing routine. And fourth, avoid making it emotionally difficult. For example, after brushing your teeth, meditate for 1 minute. After breakfast, write one idea. Your brain learns patterns through repetition. Thousands of students and entrepreneurs quietly use this method because it removes the need for constant willpower. And honestly, that's powerful. But that's not all, because environment matters more than motivation ever will. Most people blame themselves when they fail, but often, the real problem is their environment. Your habits are heavily influenced by what surrounds you every single day. If junk food sits on your desk, you'll eat it. If your phone is beside your bed, you'll scroll endlessly. Research from behavioral economics shows that humans naturally choose the easiest available option. Your brain wants convenience. That's why tiny environmental changes create massive behavioral shifts. Think of your environment like invisible programming. Here's how to apply this immediately. First, make good habits obvious. Second, make bad habits difficult. Third, reduce friction for positive behavior. And fourth, increase friction for distractions. For instance, instead of relying on discipline to avoid your phone, place it in another room while working. Instead of forcing yourself to exercise, put your workout clothes beside your bed at night. Tiny environmental changes quietly guide your future actions without draining mental energy. And here's the crazy part. Most life transformations don't happen through giant moments. They happen through invisible systems repeated daily. This brings me to the next secret. The smallest habit that changes everything might simply be resetting your day before it spirals out of control. Most people fail once, then emotionally quit entirely. They miss one workout and stop for a month. They eat one unhealthy meal and give up completely. But successful people recover quickly. Psychologists call this the what the hell effect. Once people think they've failed, they continue making worse decisions because they believe the day is already ruined. But tiny resets interrupt that cycle. This works because your brain responds strongly to fresh starts. Even symbolic resets can restore motivation instantly. Here's how to use this. First, create a simple reset ritual. Second, use it immediately after mistakes. Third, avoid self-criticism. And fourth, focus on the next action only. For example, if you wasted 2 hours scrolling social media, don't say, "My whole day is ruined." Instead, stand up, drink water, take 3 deep breaths, and complete one productive task. That's the reset. Not perfection, recovery. And honestly, this is where real discipline is built. Because disciplined people aren't perfect people. They're people who return quickly. You've already watched this far, so let me share one final truth. Your future isn't built by dramatic moments. It's built by tiny, repeated actions nobody notices. Let's quickly review what we covered today. Number 1. Start ridiculously small. Number 2. Build identity through action. Number 3. Use momentum to your advantage. Number 4. Design your environment carefully. And number 5. Master the daily reset. Remember, transformation doesn't happen because of one huge decision. It happens because tiny habits quietly shape your identity every single day. You already have everything you need to become more disciplined, focused, and confident. The only difference between who you are now and who you want to become is the small actions you repeat consistently. Don't wait until your life feels completely out of control. Start with just one tiny habit today. One push-up, one sentence, 1 minute of focus. I promise you, months from now, you'll look back and realize that tiny action changed far more than you expected. If you found this helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more self-improvement videos like this. Drop a comment telling me what's the one tiny habit you're starting today. And if you want to learn how to stay disciplined even when you don't feel motivated, check out the next video on your screen right now. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.